All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. We so appreciate you joining us for the Real Champions annual impact meeting. This is kind of similar to when you brought home your report card to show your parents at the end of a quarter or a school year. We feel kind of that kind of excitement. We've done well, right? So we're excited for you to see it. There has been some extraordinary work done by RCI over the past year, and this is just a snapshot of what encapsulates the work that we've accomplished during the past school year. So my name is Hannah Hall. I lead the marketing initiatives for RCI, and you're going to hear from many of the talented, dedicated members of our team here in the next half hour. We welcome many of you on this call. Some of you are maybe first time, just interested in the work, genuinely interested in the work that we do. We welcome you. Others are longtime friends and investors and donors, and we are so appreciative of how you continue to show up for us again and again. So we anticipate that this call is going to last right at 30 minutes. We're not going to go into any great detail into this subject matter, but we will take questions at the end of the presentation, or we will grab coffee with any of you anytime to go into as much detail ad nauseum that you would like about RCI. You can't really shut us up about the great things happening. So here are just a few housekeeping notes, okay? Please make sure that you put us on mute during the call, except for those of you who are presenting. So go ahead, if you will. If you'll just jiggle your mouse around, you should see the little audio button. Looks like a little microphone. If you'll click on that, it's going to mute you, okay? That way we won't hear dogs and cats and doors and things in the background during the presentation. Okay. Like I said, we're also recording this call. So we will send this out. You can rewatch it. And we certainly ask you to share it with as many folks as you can. Also, please put your questions in the chat box at any point in the conversation. If you're wondering where that is, again, if you'll just move your mouse a little bit, you'll see your taskbar, and it's the second little button. There's participants, and then you should see chat. If you'll click on that, you can type away. So if something interests you, go ahead and type a question or write them down and put them in the chat function whenever you do want to put those in there. We just ask that you comment and ask using that chat function, okay, so that we can manage all of the folks on the call. So I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to get going. All right. Can everybody see my screen? You should see 2024-25 Annual Impact Report. Some fun bubbles. Good. So here is today's agenda. We're going to talk about real data. This is about our mentors, our students, our families and schools where we serve in Jasper and Charleston counties. Then we're going to talk about real impact. This is the mentors and students and progress that we're seeing in them. Then we're going to talk about real connections. This is with our advocate mentors in the ecosystem and how they're interacting in like I said, the ecosystem around them. Now, keep in mind that our mentors will spend more than 200 hours with a student in a given year. So what does that look like? What are they doing? Where are they? Finally, a snapshot of how we fund our mission and some of the really, really big goals for the year ahead. So without delay, I'll introduce our Executive Director, Dr. Carl Martin, for a brief welcome. Carl?
Thank you so much, Hannah. We appreciate your addition to our team. You've just made us better, and thank you. Thank you all for engaging with our team for a few minutes today. My name's Carl Martin, and I'm co-founder of Real Champions, Inc. with my good friend and brother in Christ, Ned McNair. Bottom line, we're implementing a vision to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty in South Carolina by just creating a love for the children that are invisible. And it's being fulfilled by a team of dedicated individuals, and it's my wonderful opportunity to introduce them to you as they present. Thank you, Hannah. Hannah's new to our team, and you can see her expertise by creating this annual impact webinar and what a value she is. So thank you, Hannah, for your expertise that you're bringing to RCI. You're also going to meet Megan Tice. She's our Director of Operations, and I'm so excited and pleased to say that our program fidelity and our effectiveness is as strong as ever as she leads our program directors and our advocate mentors to do their work as she trains and coaches them. But under Craig Witcher's leadership, our finances have reached another level of accuracy and consistency as we prepare for an audit and even for writing seven-figure grants. So remember this, our mission at RCI is time equals love. time equals love. The more time, quality time that we can give the beautiful children we serve who are the most vulnerable and track their progress and their growth really is what RCI is all about. We have some wonderful expansion plans. I'm just going to quickly tell you that we're expanding the size of our grant writing team. We have MOUs on the table with Jasper County. Beaufort County has requested an MOU. Charleston County wants us to expand our work. So we're excited about this opportunity, and we want you to engage at another level with us as we go forward. So with our team ready to prepare, thank you again for being on the call. I'm excited about what you're going to experience today.
Carl, thank you so much. Let's get into some real data. I'm multitasking, letting folks in from the waiting room. So, Megan, would you like to, let me see if it's going to let me do this. It should. There we go. Megan, tell us about some real data.
Absolutely. So the most important thing about Real Champions is who we are and who we work with. Honestly, we tell people all the time that our model is to provide a person. We don't offer a program. We provide a real living person to walk alongside these children. So you'll see we have 11 team members who are operating in both counties, 2 program directors who are absolutely phenomenal, and 9 advocate mentors. So the program director's job is on paper very simple, but in practice very difficult, which is that they are sent forth from RCI to break down the barriers that stand in front of the children. They connect with the community, they connect with the teachers in the schools, and they keep a very close connection with the advocate mentors to make sure that they themselves are healthy, provided for, and have everything they need while they're serving with the children. The advocate mentors themselves spend 40 plus hours a week in direct contact with the children. So they focus, which we'll talk about on the next slide, on everything a child may need to be successful. Because for a child to be successful in the RCI program, at the end of 12 plus years, we're really looking for the fact that they are employed, enrolled, or enlisted, that they are mentally and emotionally healthy adults, and that they are engaged in their community in a beneficial way. That takes a really long time to build that into a child, and it can't happen in just 1 hour a week. So the mentors really focus on all the areas that a child is going to need to succeed. We work in 13 schools, 10 in Charleston and 3 in Jasper County. Sometimes people ask us why we have so many kids in so few kids in so many schools. But the reality is when we commit to work with a child, we commit to stay with the child, no matter where they go, no matter how their circumstances may change. We have kids in our program that have switched schools upwards of 3 or 4 times in a single school year, often trying to outrun truancy backgrounds or in other circumstances simply because they were evicted, they needed to move in with grandma for a period of time, things that are well outside of a child's purview to control. So the mentor travels with them into these different schools, and it's crucial that the program directors work with the schools to make sure we have access. We have 69 students that we currently serve in the 2 counties. That's a 64% increase from 2024. So you may think that seems like a little bit of a low number, but in reality, that is a huge growth that we have experienced. And we don't just add people to our team. We take detailed time to train them, to connect them with the right cohort, to make sure that there's a deep connection that really can change the cycle of generational poverty. So you'll see at the top, we have a wide spread of wonderful children mentees that we are able to serve all the way from 1st grade to 8th grade. Our 8th grader, he has been in our program for 5 years. He started in 2nd grade during COVID. When he joined our program, he did not have even access to the digital classroom that was, so many of us were trying to learn to navigate. And this year he was actually awarded a leadership award for his school. So he's just seeing amazing things with this widespread of children. We're pretty split, 54% male, 46% female. We predominantly serve Black and Hispanic families, although we do have a few white families in our program. 93% of our students attend a school where there's at least a 70% poverty rate. For those of you who don't know why that is a significant stat, it's because the poverty rate in the school determines so much about the access that the child has, both within the school and without. So that means access to additional tutoring, the way the library is stocked, how many books they have, the teacher to student ratio may be different, the way the buses are run, all the way around the school's culture is really impacted by that number. 37% of our students attend a below average or unsatisfactory school. That means that over a third of our students are attending a school that the state itself says is not giving the child what they need in order to be successful long term. And again, this may not be a direct reflection on the school. They are facing so many of their own barriers between funding, disciplinary issues in the school, teacher retention, all of these big picture things. But the child is the one who feels the brunt of that outcome. And then we only had 4 students that were held back in this past year. While that stat is a little bit difficult to explain in depth, what's really important to know is that, long term, the final outcome is that a child has a high school diploma in order to move forward in life. If a student is held back, we stay with them because we believe that the school identified something that will help them be successful. So we use this opportunity to recalibrate and launch forward. And if a child is moved on, we also stay with them and go from there.
Megan, tell us about Real Impact and some of the data you've collected through a technology called Aperture.
Sure. So we focus on, as I said, kind of 3 key aspects for a child's success at Real Champions Inc. The first is academics, which we talked about a little bit brief a second ago with the school culture. The second is experiences. We believe that a child cannot want something different or better if they don't know what else is out there. And the third thing is the core competencies or social emotional learning that a child will need in order to be successful. So we use the Castle Doctrine. These are things like responsible decision making, self-awareness, social awareness, that kind of thing. So even if a child graduates high school and gets a job, if they don't have the core competencies to show up on time for work, to not quit when they're angry, to persevere, to express their needs, they will never continue to move forward and grow. So it's really important that we start now focusing on those skills that they'll need throughout their whole life. We use a system called Aperture EDU. It's housed at Johns Hopkins University. The mentors do 3 assessments a year: pre-assessment, mid-year assessment, and end-of-year assessment. And then we compare that data year over year to see how the child is progressing. Something that's really important to note about social emotional learning is that it's not like academics, where when you have these sight words down or your multiplication tables, you have that skill mastered and you go on to the next. Social emotional learning over the course of every person's life will kind of go like this. And our goal is that we're always trending upward, even if we have these dips. So for many of our children, they face incredible barriers, whether that's community violence, shootings, homelessness, lack of access to healthy food, that may result in a backward movement or trend for a year. But then when we look at that data in year 2, 3, and 4, what we usually find is that they are just continuing to move upward.
And it looks like even backward movement is a call to action that our mentors are trained to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, we our mentors do about 100 hours of training throughout the course of the year. So they do 30 hours of onboarding training, which is everything from ACEs, Darkness to Light, which is sexual violence, abuse, and prevention, tech safety. All of our kids are online, and it is a new world to try to figure out how to keep them safe in this space. All the way through to trainings through the school system on crisis de-escalation, that kind of thing. So we really do try to make sure they have what they need to address all the issues that a child may face.
Megan, thank you so much. Now tell us about the Real Connection, because again, our mentors are spending a lot of time with our young people, the family, and the community around them.
Yes. So what's really important, we say people over programming. What we have found and what the research shows is that there is no such thing as a fits all program that will really help the most vulnerable children in our community. So that means that we have to put a real person in a dynamic way within the family in order to move around and navigate all of these barriers. So quick comment about this information. You saw at the end of that slide, we ended the year with 69 children. When most of this data was collected, we had not hired the 3 mentors that we hired in the spring. So this is actually related to about 40 of those children. And when we lose a child, if they move out of county or which is the primary reason, if they move out of our research area, then we do replace them, which means that some of these numbers, a child may have only been in the program for 6 weeks when we finally collected this at the end of the year. So do know that we do have a ongoing rolling enrollment that impacts this. But we spent over 1,000, mentors visited the schools over 1,000 times last year. And when you think about that, it is an astronomical number to be seen in the halls, to be at recess, at lunch, to partner with the teacher, to really know what those barriers may be. We had over 262 parent meetings. That means that parents who may never set foot in their child's school sat down with their mentor to talk about what they really needed for their child to be successful. In these meetings, parents told us everything about from abuse to incarceration of another parent or family member, to lack of access to very, very needed resources in their own home that made it difficult for them to provide the kind of future they wanted for their child. We had 63 mentor and teacher meetings. We tell the schools all the time, we are not teachers. We are here to help stabilize and support those teachers. So we meet directly with the teacher, ask what their goal is for the child and how we can support that. We had 6 weeks of summer camp. In Charleston County alone, a summer camp costs about $250 for a week. And for a family in poverty, that is a complete insurmountable barrier. That means that many of our children during the summer spend their time at home, alone, unsupervised, often without access to healthy food or any kind of academic enrichment. But all the children in our CI's program are given access to a free 6-week summer camp opportunity. We provide transportation, we provide breakfast and lunch, we send home food on weekends, and we focus on the academic goals a child may need. So whether that's reading or math or the social emotional skill, we do what we can to help avoid that summer slide. And then the final part of it, which I think is the most fun, is we had 32 mentor and student experiences. So as I mentioned a second ago, it is really important for the children to see what else could exist in the community around them. And so we took the children to everything from the African American History Museum to the aquarium. We did candle making, ice skating, pumpkin patches, college basketball and football games, Patriots Point. We really just dove in there and thought, what could really open this child's eyes? What could excite them, ignite a passion that maybe they didn't even know that they had prior to this experience? So that is how we are spending that 40, honestly, plus hours of time with the children.
I went to the zoo with some of them and I had a great time. I'm already looking forward to summer camp next year. Megan, thank you so much. Like I said, extraordinary time one-on-one with these kiddos, as well as with their teachers, with their parents, and out in the community. We couldn't do it without the funding, the support. These are paid advocate mentors. And for that part of our story of how we fund the mission, Craig Witcher, will you tell us more?
I sure will, Hannah. Thank you very much. And good morning, everybody. Well, we just completed our 24-25 fiscal year on August 31st. And this past year, the focus has been on building the foundation for exponential growth, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So this past year, we've been involved in solidifying our program dynamics, as well as establishing our teams to move us forward to where we need to go. Looking at 24-25 in a nutshell, we raised $955,000, so just short of $1 million. And we spent $1,275,000, of which $885,000 were program related. Looking forward to this fiscal year, the one we just began a few weeks ago, we're planning for ambitious growth in the number of kids served. We want to move from 69 to 149. And so our program budget will double from the $885,000 I just mentioned to $1.75 million this fiscal year. But we'll need to raise nearly $2.4 million to make this expansion happen.
And Craig, I see that in order to do that, you've really upped the numbers there, increasing revenues from both individual giving and then businesses. How can we get involved to do that?
Yeah, so when people hear about our mission to help kids break the cycle of intergenerational poverty, that's so compelling to them that they want to be a part of it. So a big thing that we need to do every year is to increase the awareness of our organization. One of the ways we do that is through what we call Jeffersonian dinners. And these are just get-togethers of 10 to 12 people where we talk about what is RCI, what's its mission, and how do we operate. And they don't need to be dinners. They can be lunch get-togethers or even just snacks and soft drinks. But it's just an opportunity to bring some people together and raise awareness of what RCI is all about. So if anyone out there, feels like they'd like to host one or pull together a group of 10 or 12 people to learn more about RCI, we would love for you to do that and just contact, one of us and we'll get you hooked up on that. In terms of businesses, I'm sorry, Hannah, go ahead.
I was going to say sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring, absolutely. On the business partnership side, we're partnering in some innovative ways with some businesses this year. That can look like sharing a percentage of sales that they might have, or sharing the profits from a special event. So we're very open to working with our business partners in innovative ways where we both benefit. We'll use our social media platform to give highlight to our business partners. So the benefits really run both ways.
Absolutely. If anybody's on the call and wants to be a part of that Business Champions program, just let us know. Absolutely. Carl, Craig, thank you so much. And I know that Carl mentioned earlier on the call that for the first time, we're going through a very extensive, exhaustive audit process.
Yes, this will be our first time that we've had our financial statements audited. The books are going to be closed this week, and the audit process will begin next week. And we'll hope to have our audit opinion before the end of the calendar year. And that'll help us be more eligible for grants and other kinds of funding, and as well as give, a greater level of assurance to our donors that our books are all in order.
Yeah, thank you, Carl, so much for that. There's a lot of accountability in the work that you do, and we know that you're front and center on that mission. Thank you so much. Now, guys, we've talked about some of these numbers. Looking ahead, very ambitious goals. So, as Megan has mentioned, and Carl as well, the program expansion would be an additional 80 children and 10 mentors. So that's pretty incredible. And again, just reminding you that our team, our advocate mentors, they are paid professionals, trained professionals working with these young people. So many of our fixed costs or labor costs for having our team in place. The resource expansion includes partnering with other organizations for resources and tools that will affect our families and students. Our partnership development are those schools and businesses and residents who want to get involved. They want to volunteer. They can offer tickets to something. They want to do a revenue share. They'll invite us in to show us what they make at their business so that the young people can learn in new and different ways and experience our community authentically. Additional program locations. Again, Carl mentioned this. We're currently in Jasper and Charleston counties, but look, 3 more counties are already knocking on the door, wanting our programs inside of their schools as well. The revenue growth is going to have to happen. We're going to focus on personal donors as well as the Business Champions program and technology. Even additional data collection and literacy software is being added in thanks to grant writing. Community involvement, just again, added connections to area events and opportunities, because like Megan said, the young people can only want for themselves what they see is offered around them, and we want them to experience that. And again, calling on what Carl said, time equals love. And we appreciate your time today learning more about RCI and the work that we're doing. So in the last few minutes, I've seen a couple of questions and comments come into the chat section. So if you will allow me just to go, if you have them, please put them in the chat section. And I will do my very best to get this to the appropriate person. Sam, Sheila, thank you for your comments. Sam, great overview of data sets and approaches. Follow up, what baseline data do document and track in your pre and post assessment? How do you identify, track, and account for uncontrollable factors? Have you considered tracking a comparable population set? Also send the presentation. Yes, the presentation and the link. So Sam, I just want to make sure you are wanting to know a baseline data. So Megan, do you want to answer that?
Yes, I could talk about data all day. Let's get coffee later and talk about it. So a couple of things is really important. So one, anytime you're doing a social science versus, a hard science, it is so heavily regulated and so hard to get your hands on a true like control population. So some of the ways that we do try to find those baseline populations to know, are we serving the proper groups of children, as well as are we actually making the progress we think we're making? The first thing we do is we recently put into our MOU with both Charleston County and Jasper County, it'll also be in the expansion MOUs, that we have access to students' end of year testing data. So from an academic perspective, unfortunately, being promoted to the next grade level does not actually mean that the child has mastered the grade level that they just exited. So, it may be that the child was retained the previous year. South Carolina law, it is incredibly hard to retain a child 2 years in a row. It may be that the parent denies the retention. It could be a funding issue. There's so many reasons that a child may be promoted that are not at all a reflection on the quality of our teachers. Our teachers do amazing work in the classroom, but the test scores, MAP, iReady, and SC Ready, they will tell you where the child is actually performing on grade level, and they put them in a continuum with other peers, both of the state and the nation. So we do look at that data early on and then at the end of the year to see, are we actually making the type of progress we're hoping to make? From a social emotional learning data, we use Aperture's DESA background, as well as just some research there about where our quote unquote average children in the country performing in this issue of, or in this area of core competencies, this social awareness, responsible decision making, those kind of things. They give us kind of a baseline of, hey, there's I think 46 school districts in your state that use, or in the Southeast that use this. This is what they're telling us. It's very scrubbed, so we can't necessarily measure our population of children against that population. We have approached schools about potentially seeing if certain classrooms would be willing to do the DESA themselves. And so far, principals and teachers are not really willing to support that kind of secondary data collection on their end. So we have to get really creative from that perspective. And then regarding the outside barriers that we can't control. So for instance, you saw on the report, there were 14 children who moved backwards this year. Of those 14, 6 of them had fathers that were incarcerated over the course of the year, or brothers. 2 of them experienced gun violence. 3 of them experienced homelessness. So it's like, it is impossible for us to expect a child of 7 years old to be able to regulate their emotions in a test setting when they've just lost someone dear to them, or they are not sure where their next meal is coming from. So the way that we kind of counteract that is twofold. One, the mentor is incredibly embedded in the child's life. So we do notes every single week, and the mentors do document like, hey, this has come to my attention. We connect those parents with outside resources, whether that's pediatrician, mental health professionals, housing programs, rent assistance, utility assistance, you name it. We really work to break down those barriers with outside partners that we can connect the parents to. So some of those barriers, are unfortunately the reality of the community our children are in. They are going to experience violence in their homes or in their community. They are going to experience uncertainty in their schools. So the best thing we can do is put a reliable and certain and stable person in their life that they can lean back on when those other variables start to swirl around them.
And Megan, in talking about data, it's interesting. Side note, I shop at Whole Foods, and the bags, the paper bags they give you, their motto is it's what's not in the bag. So they're promoting whole foods, sustainable farming. Many times of what you see in our data is sometimes what's not in our data. So, what we hope one day we won't see is that one of our young people are incarcerated, or that they're not suspended from school, and that they haven't experienced homelessness. It's like sometimes our biggest data will be points that will never show up. Will you just speak to how work now leads to the success of what won't be a data point in the future?
Yeah, so there is a really interesting stat, and my brain just completely blanked. It's from one of the large think tanks, but it just says that basically the number one indicator of a person remaining in poverty their whole life is if they're born into poverty. So it has nothing to do with their education level. It doesn't have to do with their access, it has to do with the fact that they were born into this circumstance. And the reason is often because they don't have the access to the stabilizing factor to help them break out of it. So we know that children born into poverty are 3 times more likely to become teenage mothers. They're 4 to 6 times more likely to become incarcerated. They are almost, I think it's only 30%, it's 30 or 40% less likely to graduate high school. I mean, the stats are just staggering on the barriers that are needed as the foundational building blocks in order to be successful. So if a young person is incarcerated at 18, their long-term earning potential is greatly damaged over the course of their life. If a young woman becomes a mother at 16, the possibility of her having an early on career and building those foundations as far as investing, college, that kind of thing, are greatly diminished. So we're really kind of stepping in to try to address some of these bigger societal issues that happen way later on in a child's life. But in reality, they have to be addressed when they're 5 or 6 years old.
Wow. Sam, thank you for your comment. Also, Andy, thank you for your comment, for your prayers, for the additional kids. Thank you. Beth, we are getting you information about a Jeffersonian dinner. You bet. What a wonderful hostess you would be for one of those, no doubt. Ned is asking, and this is a question for either Megan or Carl, quickly, why would these other school districts want us there?
Because we're wonderful. No.
Go ahead,
yeah.
Megan. I'd love for you
No,
to
I was going to say,
No, you go for it.
I think for a lot of school districts and a lot of partnerships, it's the reality that what they are doing is not working, that they are seeing children that they taught their parents 15 years ago, and they had these same issues coming through the schools, and they're seeing these cycles repeated. They're seeing teachers be burnt out. The average amount of time a teacher in South Carolina will stay in the classroom now is 7 years. This used to be a career. This used to be something people were in it to the end, and they are so tired. And it's not that they don't love the kids. When you talk to them, they just don't have anything else to give. They are seeing lack of access in their own bandwidth to reach into the home because of barriers, legal barriers that a teacher faces. A teacher can't just pop in and have coffee with a mom at their house. There's things that they can and can't do, but they know that those things could make all the difference. So I think when educators, principals, superintendents hear there's someone out here who wants to start at the very beginning and they want to break this cycle, they don't want to just come in and, provide a friendship, but they really want to come in and provide a helping hand. They are incredibly interested in that.
Education bears the brunt, that they're the problem when we know the problem is at the home. And RCI exists to be the anchor, not the parent, but just someone who comes alongside of the parents to help them get what they need, know what they need, and love their children the way they want to be loved, starting in the home. And teachers know that, but they just can't say it, Hannah.
Well, you guys have gotten a great snapshot, I hope, of the work that has happened in the last year and what we are already off and running, doing here in the upcoming year. If anything has piqued your interest from this data, like I said, this program's being recorded. We're going to send that out to you as well as the slide deck. Please like, share it, and let us know how we can engage with you for questions or to further the conversation in your communities. Thank you for your time today. As Carl said, I love that. Time equals love. And your time today has certainly been very valued. And just keep in touch with us at RCI and let us know how, like I said, we can partner with you. Thank you, everybody.